a very exciting, a very enticing, and a very seductive profession.
There isn't any easy money to be had. You can't come out here expecting that, well, I have a film degree, I'm going to find a job tomorrow in the film industry, and on the side I'm going to write.
405 southbound through West LA, you'll find the usual slow drive just before Wilshire Boulevard. It gets busy and it stays that way, off and on down past Venice Boulevard.
There is an underground society out here that preys on vulnerable people.
If you go on a reading that says nudity required, then be prepared to be exploited.
Just because there's someone in Beverly Hills with a nice big mansion does not mean that they are not bad news.
Never, cardinal rule, never, ever give any money to any agent up front. Never.
Overnight miracles, fly-by-night illusions.
I don't care how strong or how ethical you feel that you are living where you are right now. You have never seen anything like what you're going to see. You have never seen anything like it.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Brown. I'm standing in the ruins of Errol Flynn's estate above Hollywood. It's called Runyon Canyon Park now. This program offers inside and independent advice for actors, writers, and others hoping for a career in Hollywood. Because this is an information program, it's by nature pretty talky, but if you hang in there, our experts will tell you stuff that will save you time, money, and more. Let's do it. During the 1920s, the studios consolidated their power over the individual artists who were, and still are, the creators of the movies. Because of that foul achievement, the studios, for the first time, were able to concern themselves with something other than their own survival. They began to realize that movies were having a significant emotional impact on a great many people throughout the country. People thus affected were named fans. Increasingly, large public relations departments began to reach out to those new fans. They also reached out to control the news that reached those fans. With the studios firmly in control of the artists, the growing public relations machinery began to create a Hollywood mythology, which included the notion that you can move to Hollywood and change your life. With a great deal of hoopla, screen tests were held throughout the United States, and the regional winners were brought to Hollywood for their chance to be a star. No more housework, no more 10-hour days. One could be discovered in Hollywood. During the 1920s and 30s, so many people showed up in Hollywood that new charitable organizations had to be created to care for the young women who blindly chased the myth, then lost everything.
I think I go home.
That same myth, since the 30s, has been supported by a multi-million-dollar training industry, which feeds on the dreams of every man and every woman, arriving in Hollywood every day from all over this country and the rest of the world. Many people actually believe that if someone has ever won a movie contest and become a movie star, then I can. In fact, no one ever did. Or, if someone has ever been discovered on the street in Hollywood, then I can be discovered just by showing up and walking around. I'm sure you realize that's self-delusion. What we call Hollywood is a group of factories, studios, surrounded by businesses which provide artists and craftspeople and other services. These factories and other businesses have few job openings and hundreds of thousands of applicants. The products of these factories are motion pictures, but those who control the movies, by and large, care far more for profits than for the magic which a good movie can create. The arrogant factories actually claim authorship of films made by the director and others. Mix in constant economic uncertainties, and you get a working environment which is permanently off-center and keeps everyone in the business nuts. Now you come to Hollywood, with 100 others on that day, every day. Your arrival activates those whose sole purpose in life is to separate money from newcomers to Hollywood. Teaching the skills necessary for theater and motion picture work is a legitimate and honorable profession. However, many so-called teachers in Los Angeles should be avoided. Any teacher whose irritability level towards students gets up past that of a bad day should be completely avoided. They feed on those with low self-esteem. If it makes you feel bad, don't do it. Make it stop. Be careful who you let into your head. You have to be selective. Think of Hollywood as a marathon. You're running with 10,000 other people who all look and sound and act just like you. The winner gets to be the working film actor. Every time you leave the track to hang out at the bar or the beach, you're losing ground to all those other actors who stayed serious and focused and kept running. They'll get to the auditions first, and they'll be ready. In Hollywood, you have to hustle. To beat the odds against you, you need to grow in knowledge and experience. To do that, you need total focus on acting and on the search for acting work. Let's talk with our experts.
Come with maps. Come with a familiarity of what areas of town are safe. Come with a familiarity of who the top agents are, who the agents are that might be right for you. This is all research you can do from home. Why should you start doing that, wasting your time when you get here? You can research schools and write to training institutes from where you live. There are books you can read about acting from where you live. Read on method acting. Read Stella Adler's book. Read Al Lucio's book. Read Method or Madness. Read, have a knowledge of what it is you're coming to do. You'll find the moment you get here, you will be ready to absorb more because you'll be more prepared.
Don't come to Hollywood unless you've had all the training, all the experience back home and wherever you can get training. Stay where you live. Get into the local theater, the community theater, get into television, get into radio, get into college, get into the plays. Get a reputation around where you live. They'll find you. Don't come out here. There's too many people out here now. And the odds of succeeding are terrifying.
It's just that there are so many ways that you can prepare before you make this trip. All too often, people just get in their car and head to Hollywood or get on that plane or that bus for Hollywood with no idea even where they're going to live, with no idea what this business really is.
The easiest way to understand acting in California is this is the NFL. You are playing with the biggest boys. So if you are not trained and don't understand about the commercials, don't understand about camera work, don't understand about lighting, don't understand even the simple language of acting or methods, do not come here. You're not ready for us. This is the NFL. You got to come to play to win. And the worst thing somebody can do from out of state is to come and show up on our doorstep and say, I'm an actor. You're not.
What they see is, they read People magazine. They see that there are people go to glamorous parties and wear cool clothes, and they are doing really well in their high school drama class or even their college drama program. They know that they're talented, and they come out here with an innocence and a naivete, which will crush them, really. That will seem amateurish rather than beautiful. There are lots of ways to prepare, whether you're living in Pocahontas, Arkansas, or you're living in New York City.
Well, I think you can build skills anywhere. I think that you can learn writing as a skill, as a craft, as a hobby, as a profession, anywhere. Coming to LA is a place to market your writing, and I think that that should be taken into consideration because the market in LA is pretty much the entertainment industry. You can learn writing in your own home. You can learn it in a trailer park. I do think that it's helpful to come to LA a little prepared and know a little bit about your craft.
I realized that I was ready to move to Hollywood after I'd worked on a movie with Sissy Spacek. I was her stand-in. She was very, very sweet to me and very encouraging. I had got my SAG card from having a very small part in a movie. When I got to LA, I realized I didn't have my SAG card, which was a whole new set of problems.
I had done, or at least I thought I had done, just about everything I could in my town. There was nothing else for me to do. There was no higher level to go to. I was working as an actor, full-time, and I figured if I'm doing that here, why not? Why couldn't I do that in Los Angeles? I just felt that there was more I can do. If I could be a big fish in a little pond, then maybe I'll give it a shot, try and see if I could be a big fish in a big pond.
There are two things you have to be prepared for. You have to be prepared to learn the craft of acting, but you also have to be prepared for a business. And anyone in business will tell you, if I'm going to move to Texas, I'm going to research that community and where I want to live and what the value systems are in that community and all sorts of things before I go there, because I know in my business I'll be more successful.
This profession is the most misunderstood of all the professions, because there's so many elements that are not clearly defined. Our profession, it looks so easy because the object of art is to conceal art, so it looks easy. You look at a good baseball player, it looks easy, but it took years. You look at a good pianist, it looks easy, but it took years. People think because it looks easy, anyone can do it. So we get a lot of people untrained with no concept of the profession who come out here and have nothing to offer but a kind of blind drive. And it fills up our profession with a lot of people who don't really belong in it. And I don't mean to sound elitist. They haven't had the calling.
Don't come here before you get out of high school. When I see actors who really have no education, no experience, no training, try to feel the very powerful emotions that good writers create for them, very often they don't even have the life experience to draw from, and they don't have the education to draw from, so they've cut themselves off. You have to also study what's an agent, what's a manager, what's a producer, what's a director, what's a casting director, what's a SAG card, what's a feature film, what's television, what's episodic, what's pilot season, what are the trades. Inform yourself about the business.
I was contemplating moving out here from New York, and someone said, well, before you decide to move, come and visit for a week to 10 days. See what it's like. See if you like it. See if it's an environment that you think you can survive in, because it's far different soil here on the west than on the east, and not every plant can grow here in Los Angeles. So I came out here for about 10 days, and I decided that I was fairly compatible, but not everybody can make that decision. I know people who have come out here and have left after about 2 years, some even after 2 months, very much soured on the experience. And I think that it's very important to visit first, get the lay of the land, see the obstacles in your way, because you're not just changing professions or moving into a profession, you're really changing your lifestyle. And the lifestyle here is very apparent from the moment you walk off the plane. It can be very harsh, it can be very cold, even though it's sunny Los Angeles. Not today, but it can be very harsh. And that's something that you have to reckon with, because for 5 years you might be here without doing anything, and your best friend is your telephone and your computer. And it can be a fairly lonely environment. And that is something that a lot of people can't deal with, no matter what the rewards are.
I felt like, oh yeah, I'll move to Hollywood and it'll probably take a year. And it wasn't like that at all. It was not like that at all. It was, that first year went by in a flash. I didn't have a bed, I slept on sweaters. I had my sweaters and I would lay them out instead of a mattress. I slept on that for 6 months. Didn't have any money.
It's a profession. Train. Find out if you have a gift for it before you come out here. I would urge you to do that, because there's heartbreak out here unless you come out with a goal and prepared to do your work.
Everything in LA is union. And don't even think about moving to LA if you don't have your SAG card, because you won't get any work except on very, very sleazy B-rate productions. I know.
So a person who just thinks they're going to drop in on us, what will happen to you is you might get 4 or 5 interviews, but that's going to be the last of the interviews because they're not going to want to see you again, because those casting directors have long memories. So that's why you got to come trained from the very beginning. And believe it or not, you should listen to your friends. If you say you stink, you stink. So, I mean, if the scene calls for a laugh and you know, like something as simple as Oklahoma, where you've seen the movie and you're doing the play and you're not getting laughs, well, you know, let's go home and look at ourselves and see if the training's there or not.
I see people come out here who had no purpose, no goal, no training, and get lost in the sideshow that can be Hollywood. You get on Hollywood Boulevard at night and stand in front of Grauman's Chinese, you see a bunch of starstruck kids who think that, gee, to be a star, wow. Well, they're seeing the result of all the work. They don't see the work. And because it looks so easy, they think anybody can do it. No. It's a profession. And you would be wise to honor the profession by preparing yourself before you come out here.
Before moving out to Hollywood, I had no idea what it would be. I had no idea what anything here would be like. I didn't know that there were hills. I didn't expect so much traffic.
405 northbound before Carson Street in Carson at Fender Bender clearing now.
I didn't expect that it would take this long for me to be working as an actor. If someone was to tell me when I got to Hollywood years ago, well, not that long ago, if someone was to tell me when I got to Hollywood that it's going to take you at least 5 or 6 years, even 7 years maybe, to start working consistently, I think I would have stayed in my town, and I would still be an actor, but knowing what I know now, I would not have moved here.
I was 20 years old when I got here and completely green. I didn't know anything, and ideas that I had were completely wrong. And it took a long time just to feel comfortable and get the training and feel comfortable in my own skin so that I could go out there.
A lot of people are already stars in their hometown. Realize that you're coming to a whole new town, a much bigger town. There are millions of people here, and you will not become a big star overnight.
Okay, the actual cash amount I brought was, let me see, I had $3,500. That was big bucks for, you know, a small town girl like me. And no, I did not bring enough money. By the time I actually hit LA, I don't know how this happened, but I had $1,200 in my pocket. Well, to get an apartment, you need first month, last month, security, and an apartment, you're not going to find one for less than $450. I mean, you just aren't. So I was negative by the time I got a place to live in LA. Actually, I think I phoned home for more money too, already, after being there for a week. And then I got a job right away, which was pretty lucky, waiting tables at the Formosa Cafe.
I think that it's important to have some marketable skill, because when you come to Los Angeles, if you don't have any of those skills, you're going to be forced to, sooner or later, and probably sooner, to revert to that short order cook or something like that. And it will not give you the time to get out there and write, and then, which is more important in writing than writing in Los Angeles, to market your works and to really struggle to try to find the various outlets in order to get your works published or produced.
Financially, have a car or be prepared to buy one. Be prepared to pay, if you're planning to live alone, between $600 and $800 a month in rent. Be prepared to pay about $500 or $600 every 3 months for acting classes, That's about right, about $150, $200 a month for acting classes, maybe another 100 or so for voice classes or dance classes, movement classes if you have special problems you want to work on. Have $500 or $600 to get professional headshots and resumes printed up and to duplicate all of that. And have, I would say, to live in LA, $200 or $300 a month minimum food. That's if you do all your own cooking. So that would help you create a life budget. You can't get around effectively on the bus here. We don't have good public transportation as of yet. And if you want to move into a place that you're only going to pay $200 or $300 for, you're not going to live in a safe area. You might want to look for a room in someone's home that you could pay $200 or $300 for. That's an outstanding idea for someone making their first time here.
There's no such thing as bringing enough money when you move to California, because you'll always need more. I came out here with about $2,000. It was either get married or move. So I moved and took $2,000 with me. And it went like that in 3 months. Because you need to buy a car and you need to get a place to live, and you're not going to get a job right away. Well, maybe you are. I didn't. But you're going to need to be able to eat and put gas in your car and get pictures and resumes and all that stuff. So I came out with $2,000 and it didn't last very long. You can never come out with too much money. I wouldn't say come out with $100 in your pocket. That's a little scary.
What happens when people come to LA and they're not financially prepared is they end up waiting tables and taking the bus everywhere and taking 5 years before they ever can study acting, get a headshot, live in a decent place. If they get a reading, they can't go to the reading because they don't have a decent car to drive there or gas to put in the vehicle. If they get accepted to a professional workshop, they can't afford to study. So what happens if people don't show up financially prepared is they waste their time and they end up going home broke.
An actor that's coming to California without economic support can basically just go home. Just don't even bother. First, you're going to have to find an agent, get the agent. You got to come here with a car because there's no transportation system of value. And then to top it off, you need to get a side job that's flexible.
What I thought is, I just be there, and movie producers, directors are on the street having cappuccinos. I'm just going to have to sit at the right place at the right time, and it's going to happen. Well, that was a big mistake. I mean, even as a waiter, if you think you are a waiter and you're going to serve a director, nobody's going to come up and say, you want to be in my movie. Nobody picks you on the spot and says, yes, you are the one. Because they're all too afraid. They don't know if you can act. They don't know if they could invest all that money. And it's a lot of tension on their side, so nobody would just come up and say, yeah, let's take a shot here.
They come with an open heart and a great dream and no preparation. I'm not saying you have to have $10,000, but have $5,000. Have $4,000 or $5,000 before you make the trip out here. Or have a really good job lined up or a job possibility. So they come without financial or artistic or business preparation. They arrive and think it's going to happen. The worst thing they do is they believe that when they get here because they have a girlfriend that's going to take them to a party where they're going to meet glamorous people, that they've got it all locked up. It does not work that way. They believe that if they walk down the street in the right neighborhood, they're going to get cast in a film. I actually hear people say, oh, I don't have a job lined up because I plan to do commercials. They don't prepare financially, and they don't do the research that says, I've got to be prepared for 2 to 5 years of nothing happening. If you're prepared for that, you're ready to come.
People who come out here have a skewed perception of what Hollywood is and what makes it run. And it's a film industry out here, which means it's 1% film and 99% industry. So you have to have very good business sense if you want to come out here and market yourself. You can be a writer anywhere, but you have to market your properties here. And if you're going to market them here, you have to be a business person. It takes a lot of work.
People tell you, well, you don't have the right look, you're too small, you're too big, your hair isn't right, your face is ugly, your eyes aren't blue enough, your ears, whatever. They're going to tell you that every day. And you have to know that this is only one point of view. So be ready for that. Otherwise, I wouldn't come.
Being disillusioned with how easy and fun life can be out in Hollywood. It's rough. It is rough. I mean, even to get a small part to get an agent is rough. I mean, I sent out headshots for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, no response. You know, I thought, what's the point? I knocked on doors. They don't even let you in the door. It's just getting a way in is one of the hardest things.
It's a lot like high school here. It hasn't really changed. There's the popular people who are, you know, popular for just being popular, who really don't do the work.
A wannabe is, I want to get to know stars. I want to have stars for friends, and I'll do anything I have to do. I'll wash their cars. I'll do anything I have to do so people will like me. A wannabe buys things for people and thinks that they'll get favors done for them. A wannabe is a leech. A wannabe calls people every day. Can you get together? You want to sign me yet? Where are we going tonight? A wannabe doesn't study acting. A wannabe doesn't research the business. A wannabe reads and finds out about what's going on in town so they can sound smart instead of studying acting, instead of doing theater and doing film. That's, to me, what a wannabe is. It's a person who's in it for the ego satisfaction of who they know. If you're going to be a gonna-be, then be prepared. Then do what professionals do.
People say everybody is relaxed over here. Well, they're not. You know, it's not like you're out in the sun every day. It's not everybody is calm and cool and, you know, we're just hanging in there. Actually, when you really look at the business side, at all the actors, everybody is pretty tense. And whenever you come up with a story that you got a job or you got a nice audition, everybody gets even tighter.
Very, very disillusioning. Before I came to Hollywood, I really thought that I was special and different and had something unique to offer, and I still feel that. But it's hard to hang on to it because you get told no so many times. And your foot's in that door and they close it on you again. You just have to want it so bad. Smog, the traffic, the earthquakes, or the riots, or fires. I don't know. Those are the things I like the least about Hollywood. The sleaze. I think the sleaze is what bothers me the most. It's just in the streets. People. The air is filled with sleaze. It's a sleazy place to be.
It's so noisy. It's so noisy living here. It's noisy, it's crowded, and I hate driving, and traffic is a nightmare, so my first $1 million goes towards the chauffeur. Stay on good terms with your family because you will most likely have to ask them for money a lot. Make no enemies out of your relatives.
I think anything goes. Wild, it's crazy. I mean, that's exciting to me. People are wild. You can be anything you want to be, and I love that.
I also like the open-mindedness of everybody, which is kind of weird in a town where everybody looks the same and tries to talk the same and act the same. But there's a certain amount of freedom in that you can think or say or swear or act any way that you want to act.
I'll never forget that one mural, Overnight Miracles, Fly-By-Night Illusions. And then it had the body spray painted around. It was the best thing in Hollywood.
There isn't any easy money to be had. You can't come out here expecting that, well, I have a film degree, I'm going to find a job tomorrow in the film industry, and on the side I'm going to write. you probably aren't going to find a job in the film industry tomorrow. You're probably not going to find one in 3 months or 6 months unless you're prepared to do secretarial work, some kind of office clerical work. Those jobs are abundant. Getting onto film crews is not so easy. The way you get onto film crews when you're a 22-year-old film school graduate is because you know someone who's already on a crew, not because you come out here and say, hey, I have a film degree, hire me. That just isn't going to happen.
Unlike actors or any of the other people who are involved in this business, the writer can demonstrate his talent and his skills from a distance. He should stay at home and write and send his work here, because as far as I'm concerned, he has nothing to gain by coming and a great deal to lose.
It's probably a good idea to become a fairly good screenwriter before you come out to Hollywood. It's a lot harder to live here and to face all the problems that one can face here, as opposed to being comfortable in the place where you live, where you've grown up. One of the things that happens when you run a program like the Nickel Fellowships, you see writers who come back the next year, the following year, the third year, the fourth year, and I've been here now for 5 competition years, and there have been some writers who've been here all 5 of those years. Some of those people keep writing. This year in our finals, we have a writer who was in the quarter or semifinals in 1990. He's entered every year since then. He's entered as many as 5 screenplays. I would guess he's written about 10 screenplays. And as far as our competition goes, this is certainly the most successful he's been. He's one of 10 people out of the 3,853 who entered. He's a person who obviously kept writing new screenplays, kept, for us, entering our competition. But he's doing what he has to do, which is to keep working, to keep writing new scripts, to keep moving those scripts out to different places, to different people. Find a way to write, and don't worry about coming to Hollywood until you've got, a little satchel full of screenplays. And people, in addition to your family members and close friends who have told you that these are good screenplays.
The other thing is to read, because if you don't read good works, and that means whatever your field is, either read good journalism, read good investigative reporting, read good fiction, read good drama, read good poetry, read good screenplays. If you don't read those, then you won't know the various elements that are involved in each one of those particular activities.
Well, I think you go to the nearest public library, you talk to the research librarian, and you tell him or her that you are looking for lists of agents. And the Writers Guild of America publishes a list of franchised agents. And you send letters to all of these people, asking if they will read material that you have written that you think is worthy. And if you send out 100 letters, you may get 1 positive response. You don't know, but that's what you have to do.
Getting a writer's agent is akin to trying to throw darts at the center of a dartboard blindfolded, because you know the dartboard's in the room somewhere, and you know that you can hit it, but be damned if you can find it after a couple of throws. The most important thing in Hollywood is finding an agent. The way to go about it is a hit or miss. It really is to canvass the entire area with calls, query letters, sending out copies of manuscripts, follow-up calls, follow-up letters, until you finally hit. That's a method that's as good as any, and it takes a lot of perseverance.
What you want to do is to get one of the creative directories that has a list of agents. There's a specific book that's got all the agencies in town, all the agents' names, and start writing query letters to those people. Whether it's 20 letters, 50 letters, 200 letters, write letters. Make them very short, sell yourself in a couple of paragraphs. Make the person say, hi, this is a writer, I want to talk to this person, I want to see what kind of screenplays this person has written. You send out 100, maybe you get 5 phone calls, 15 phone calls, 25 phone calls if you're tremendously lucky. You see what they want. You send them 1 script or 2 scripts, whatever they ask for, and maybe you'll find an agent. Probably you won't, but it's a process you have to keep repeating. You write a new screenplay, repeat the process. You achieve something somewhere, whether it's a local writing contest, a national writing contest, you sell a screenplay for a short film, you direct a short film, anything like that. Send out a new batch of query letters saying, I've achieved this. Target new agents each time, though. You don't want to hit the same guy you hit 6 months ago, because he's probably going to remember. They're going to probably have a little file where they keep query letters. Then again, maybe they send them into the circular file right away. But it's something that you have to keep working at.
It's also very helpful to include a synopsis of what you have already written that you would like to have the agent read. And the prime importance is the famous SASE, the self-addressed stamped envelope, because hundreds and hundreds of query letters pour into every agency office every day. And most agents will simply disregard a query letter that doesn't have a response envelope unless he is very excited about what he reads.
Let me tell you to disregard one piece of advice that's in books everywhere. There's a list that the Writers Guild sends out that tells you these are agencies that will accept unsolicited screenplays. Totally disregard that advice. Who cares whether they'll accept unsolicited screenplays? What you want to do is to find a good agent. The people who will accept unsolicited screenplays invariably are not the best agents. You can query producers, and some of them who you would never think would read your screenplay will read your screenplay. Major companies, if you hit the right person on the right day and you sound like a wonderful person on the phone, or you write a nice query letter, they'll say, send your screenplay, and they'll read it. And if you can get positive feedback from those kind of people, there's, and you start piling that up, maybe then it's time to come, but not before you've done all those things. What you want to do is to write, and you want to keep writing, and to an extent, it doesn't matter where you are. When you need to be in Los Angeles is when you're on the verge of making it, or you are going to make it. You don't need to be here before that.
If the writer has come and is determined to stay here and see it through, and has the foolish notion that in 3 or 4 months he's going to prove himself or not, number one, he has to get rid of that notion, because it can take years to get going. And he's got to find a way to support himself. And then he's got to prove his dedication by getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and writing for 2 or 3 hours before he goes to the job that provides his living. And a lot of the best things that were ever written were written just that way. But you got to do it. And do it, and do it, and do it. If a writer's going to just sit around waiting for lightning to strike, you better have a comfortable chair.
There is a dark side to Hollywood. This town attracts sexual manipulators like daycare attracts child abusers, because Hollywood is where the victims are.
Sexual exploitation still does occur. We have a paper out here, Backstage West, and we have the Drama Log, and they both list casting. And both of them say, for example, if on the reading nudity is required. If you go on a reading that says nudity required, then be prepared to be exploited. Be prepared for somebody who's not going to pay you anything to ask you to take off your clothes and have sex with someone on camera. You're a fool if you go on that reading. You're going to get what you ask for. But where it occurs, where I'm most concerned about it for new people coming to town, isn't where it's most obvious, isn't where it says nudity required, isn't where it says, well, it's non-union, come and meet me in my hotel room, baby, at 9 o'clock. You don't have enough sense to know you shouldn't meet somebody alone in their hotel room, whether you're a boy or a girl, at 9 o'clock at night, then you're not prepared to be in Los Angeles or New York. You haven't done your research.
I got my sleazy agent. I started going out to these auditions where everyone had tits out to here. I felt unique. I felt like I stood out, in a sense. And I knew that I had more than these girls. here and here. So I started going out to these auditions, and one, it was supposed to be in these studios. I don't remember the name of the studio, but I got to the studios and they said, oh, no, that address is a bungalow over there. So I crossed the street in a bungalow, and there's no artwork on the walls, no telephone. A guy is standing in there with his cellular phone, and I am there to audition for this part. So I walked back in this back room, and there's a few people, and the camera's rolling, or, you know, they had the camera rolling, and they started asking me about my sexual fantasies. Well, I wanted a job. I wanted a job doing anything at that point besides waiting tables. And so I start telling these strange men, and I think there was a woman there, about my sexual fantasies, and it was pretty erotic. And then I felt a really strange feeling, like all of a sudden I was trapped in that room with these people, and I ran out of there. You know, my instincts told me this is not good. So, you know, one thing led to another. But no one touched me because I got out of there pretty fast. And there was a room full of girls willing to tell their sexual fantasies. And I'm sure they were willing to do more than that, too. Not me.
I mean, you go to an audition first to see what the movie's going to be, or the play, whatever. You send your picture, and they call you. And a lot of times it says in the description of the movie, nudity required. So first you make up your mind, and then you send, but you don't know what kind of nudity it is. So you go there, do the audition, and they ask you there right away. A lot of people do. You know, did you see that we're going to have nudity, that you have to take off your shirt, or that you have to take off your pants, or whatever? And then you say, well, yeah, I know, but you can still ask in what kind of way, how is it going to be shot? I mean, is it just going to be me from the back, or is it going to, you know, what am I doing being naked? Well, there's really nothing you can do. I mean, you can say, well, can I call my agent? I don't have a contract that says, you know, you're going to shoot this and this, but it's a high, well, they put you in a very small, in a very tight spot there. Yeah, it happens all the time.
Exploitation out here in Hollywood is alive and well, so don't come here naive. If an actor comes out here and anybody asks you to disrobe or to get naked or put your hands on you, just run away. You have to have your morality intact and not be so hungry that you're going to do things out of the ordinary that you would never do. So you have to be morally fit, keeping your mind and keeping your level, and not be so hungry that the job that you would do crazy things. It's just part of our day that film has nudity in it, and they're legit. But at the same time, there's still the casting couch, there's still the sleazoids, there's still the managers, there's still the people that say, look, I'm a big producer, I got this part, you know, but I need to see this robe. We hear about it pretty regularly. So the best thing for a young actor out of state coming here is just to keep the morality intact. Think, would I do this at home? Would I allow this person to touch me, or would I believe this type of scam? You know, and they can always call the unions to find out if the film this producer's working on has put up his bond yet. Hasn't put up his bond yet, there's no need to continue the conversation. Just get up and walk out. So they should beware. The casting couch is still here.
Where it really occurs is very high levels of network executives, studio professionals, top-level agencies. Unfortunately, I notice it in the gay community. I am not saying that the gay community is more likely to be sexually exploited. What I'm saying is that because, as a society, we do not yet make homosexuality okay. We don't endorse it. It goes on behind closed doors more often than it can go out in the open. So a young, attractive man, if there's a gay person who's attracted to you, he can't necessarily just come right out in a normal, safe environment and say, you want to go out on a date? Sometimes they have to use their position to meet people.
I think if you're vulnerable and you go into a situation unprepared, you open yourself up to that kind of thing. But 99% of the people out here, I've discovered, are honorable, are interested in making movies or television, and they want good people to work with. There's always the fringe element of people who are interested in sexual exploitation, but anyone that's serious in the business, if they get involved in that, they're dead in this town. So I think if you stay on the right path, you don't get involved in that. Problem, if you come out here without any money, without any goal or plan, you can easily fall into that trap. Meeting the wrong people who hang around Hollywood Boulevard, who get involved with drugs, and they meet the wrong element. They forget why they came here. That's why you have to have a plan.
If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And I consider myself a serious actress, or actor, as we're supposed to be non-gendered these days. And so I never expected to get in any strange situations like that. And I think if you plan and have a good plan, have your goals, then you won't encounter that. And if you know that you won't compromise, it won't come your way. But I was at a point where I was almost willing to compromise. I just wanted to have something to show for myself. So it started to come my way.
And I see young men more often, quite frankly, than young women. Young, attractive men who'll say, you know, I met this guy at a party. He's so-and-so at the studio, and he's head of da-da-da-da. And he wants me to come over to his swimming party on Saturday. Lots of important people are going to be there. My next question is always, why? Well, he liked me. Did he see you read? No. Did he see your headshots or ask you about your back? No, you know, but we went out to lunch, and then we went for a walk on the beach, and he said I should come to his party. Okay, if you're looking for a lover, great. If you're looking for a contact, that's not the way to go. If you're looking for a contact and you want to be really smart, go. Bring your girlfriend. Go, but bring a friend along. Then you meet the person, you make it clear that you're not interested in a personal relationship, and you have enough respect to still show up, to not assume necessarily that the person was hitting on you. There is sexual exploitation. Some of it's obvious. Be prepared to avoid the obvious. Don't think that your job in a strip club or your layout for Playboy magazine is going to get you ahead in the entertainment industry. And don't for a second think that because you sleep with somebody, it's going to get you a job. I can't imagine anybody still believing that. You can get sex anywhere these days. The 50s are over. The 40s are over. People sleep with each other now. It's not something you have to do. So why would someone with power and money and decent looks need to buy you? It's just not done. It's just not needed. If you want to have a relationship with somebody, you want to go to bed with somebody, feel free. But don't think it's going to get you an acting job.
As an actor, you want to work. The supply and demand in acting is way off balance. Way off balance. And when it's that off balance, a lot of bizarre things can happen. Because there's like 50 people behind the door coming after you. So people can try and do what they want to do. I've had girls get a job, and it was going to take place in Europe, and then at the airport, the producer comes and says, oh, there's nudity involved at the airport. So you know they've arranged with the apartment, with the I mean, they've stopped their life here in the States in order to go there for a couple of months to work, and at the airport, the pressure's put on. So, and if you don't take care of it right then and there, don't get on that plane. Because it's only going to get worse.
Let's say you go on a photo shoot, and it's a photographer who's come up to you somewhere and said, hey, listen, I'm a photographer, maybe they're legitimate, and I'd like you to come to my studio, and I'll do the shots for you for free. And, you know, headshots can cost $300 to $500, $1,000. So if somebody's going to do it for free, that's very enticing. Says, you know, bring a few things, and then you arrive, and it's a legitimate studio, and there's camera equipment. And during the shoot, the photographer says, why don't you undo that top button? Let's wet your hair. You're still okay. Why don't we take a few without your top on? It's time to leave. It's that simple. There is no reason whatsoever. There is one time that you would consider undressing before camera, male or female. That is when you're working in a Screen Actors Guild film, a SAG film, for pay. Yeah, I would suggest that it should be a budget of over $5 million, because a low-budget film where there's nudity is going to be borderline exploitive to get sold.
But if you come here with like an expectation that it's going to happen in 2 weeks, I mean, I just have to get there, get to the beach, hang out there, and I'm going to have a vacation till somebody picks me up and gives me a job. Reality comes in and says, well, no, you don't have any money. Your parents don't give you anything. Nobody asked you to come here. Nobody has to be friendly, even if, you know, people are friendly over here, but they don't have to. Then it's going to throw you really deep on the ground. And then bad people can come in and give you offers which you maybe take, and they're going to, you know, lower your self-esteem. Yeah.
Well, being a waitress in Hollywood brought on just the public constantly, oh, you're a beautiful girl, let me take pictures of you, I'm doing a movie, I'm a producer, and I started collecting their cards. I had a drawer full in my kitchen, and I mean, the names on them, they were hilarious. I couldn't believe just the things that people would come up with for their little business cards. So I got approached constantly by these so-called producers or photographers, and only once did I go to one of their places, and you know, it was in East Hollywood off Bronson, and I thought, well, that can be shady, but there's studios over there. So I went over there, I went up to the apartment to the second floor. It was sleazy, it was shady, and I ran. I ran before they could open the door. So yeah, it especially if you're dealing with the public like that, people are going to approach you constantly.
I want to tell you what's done to professionals when nudity is required. Recently, a film was cast in town, and there's some nudity that's actually not going to be used in the film, but it was possibly required for some of the characters. The actors were asked to do what's called a body check. It's horrible. It's like signing up for the Army. 4 or 5 actors are walked into a room, all buffo, and observed by the producers and the directors to make sure there aren't any marks or disfigurements, etc. That's considered appropriate, that's considered how it's done, and it's called a body check. And you should have an agent who has submitted you for the role. You should be already at a callback level before you do that, and you should only agree to do that for the person who will give you the job. You don't do a body check for an assistant casting director. That's exploitive. You only do a body check. It's the final step between, am I going to hire you or not? Well, I want to see if you got a mole on your derriere. The producer is allowed to check. It is, however, acceptable for you to say, can I do this for the producers and the director? I don't want to do this for a room full of people. So be aware of that. That's not illegitimate. It's not nice, and I don't like it, but it's not illegitimate. That's the final step. That's the difference between come to my motel room and take off your shirt for my video camera. That's no body check.
I was waiting tables, and this cheesier than a used car salesman looking guy. He looked like a caricature that you'd see in a movie of a sleazy producer. Invited me to his Beverly Hills mansion, and I went, you know, I thought, it can't be that off track if he's got a nice place in Beverly Hills. Oh, I went there, and the girls' faces were just caked with makeup, melting. They were the most disgusting women. I just felt like they were coming closer and closer and closer and closer towards me. And the man came up to me, and he asked my girlfriend what her last name was, and it's a Jewish last name, and he started just ripping her to shreds about having her last name that was Jewish. And we were just so creeped out by this party. I can't even explain it right. It was so gross. But just because there's someone in Beverly Hills with a nice big mansion and lots of money does not mean that they are not bad news. There was weird stuff going on up there. Weird stuff. I got out of there too.
Somebody says, take your clothes off. You say, thank you very much, I'm going to go now. And that person says to you, what a silly little fool you are. You're so naive. You're so unsophisticated. Yeah, well, I guess I just am. Bye-bye. And then you call the Screen Actors Guild and report that person. Or you spread the word around town about that person. You be the smart one. They're naive if they think you're going to fall for something like that. The idea that taking your clothes off is going to get you ahead, it's just not. Nudity is just not acceptable. It's just not required. And it's not a question of how free or how open you are. It's just not done. It's just not done.
I think the word no is a good word to keep in mind in this town. No, I won't take off my clothes. No, I won't do a pornographic movie. No, I won't go to bed. We're talking about the craft of acting here. There's a lot of hard work involved in creating a character and working to sustain a role, and all the other stuff is fringe. But the fact is, unless you have some sense of who you are and what's right and what's wrong, when you leave your hometown, you're aiming for trouble when you come out here. You have to bring out here some of the basic values and then just do the work. The work, if you really get seriously involved, the work takes a lot of time.
A newcomer does need a value system. I'm not saying you have to agree with all the rules of your society. Ethics is a personal code of behavior, a personal definition of right and wrong that you stick to no matter what. Do not violate your personal code of right and wrong, and you can't get hurt. If it's all right with you, if it's part of your value system that it's okay to do nudity, then you're not violating your ethics. If it's not, it's not. No matter what I say, no matter what promise I make, you don't do it. And I'm not making a value judgment about doing nudity at that level. I'm saying it's your personal code. Yes, you need a value system because it's a very exciting, a very enticing, and a very seductive profession. And I don't care how strong or how ethical you feel that you are living where you are right now. You have never seen anything like what you're going to see when you get to LA or New York. You have never seen anything like it. If you violate your ethics, you don't stand a chance of getting everything you want. Because at some level, you're going to want personal fulfillment, and that will not happen if you build a pattern of violating your personal ethics. You will feel horribly unfulfilled, and that will eat away at you and show in your work and show in your performances. You'll begin to abuse the people around you and crash and burn. Yeah, you need a sense of ethics if you're going to survive.
Saying no does several things. It makes you feel better. It also establishes who you are and what you're here for. There are people who come out here with the wrong intentions, who'll do anything with anybody to get anywhere. We've always had that. They don't last. There's no future here for them.
Ultimately, practically, it's bad business. To exploit yourself or exploit others, to violate your ethics is bad for business. So if you don't want to obey your ethics because one should, and your mama told you so, obey your ethics because it's dumb to violate them.
Lose your racial, religious, and sexual prejudices. If you're a fool, no one will want to work with you. If you give up your ethics and values, you'll be in trouble because the camera tells. How do you want to look when you finally get your close-up? Have you ever said to yourself, I'll be okay because I'm lucky? Don't tell anyone. That's victim talk. There are too many victims in Los Angeles already. In some grotesque sociobiological way, the charlatans of Hollywood can be seen as defenders of the studio nest, destroying as many of the willing victim types as possible, thus preventing them from getting through to the studios where they're viewed as extremely undependable. Don't be a victim. Remember this, if you aren't easy to work with, no one will work with you. Life is too short for bad feelings. They know that in Hollywood.
So you've just come to Hollywood and you're looking for an agent. You've got to be very careful because there are a lot of people out there who are just rip-off artists, who take advantage of people who've just come to town. A friend of mine had just moved here. He moved here about a year ago, and he met somehow or another through a friend of a friend or a brother's cousin's agent, something like that. He said, you know, this agent is interested in me, but she says I have to pay her $125 first before before she signs any papers. And I told him, you know, that's not right. Never, ever, ever give any money to any agent or anyone up front. Never. He didn't listen, and so of course he handed over $125, and he didn't have any money. He just moved here. He didn't have a place to live. He thought that he would have an agent, and in a few months he'd be a big movie star. She ran off with his money. She never returned his phone calls, and that happens every single day. It happens every single day. Never. It's a cardinal rule. If you meet an agent who says, well, you have to have new photographs taken, and it's going to cost you $300, you've got to give me that $300. No. Never, never give anyone any money, ever.
They should be wary of managerial scams, because in this state, anybody that secures any type of employment under State Code 1701 or an actor must be licensed, bonded, and reviewed by the Justice Department. So-called managers, you have to watch out, because there is no licensing for them, and they do have quite a reputation for scamming us. That is the difference between an agent. The fact that the state has granted us permission to secure employment.
A business card for an actor is their headshot. Headshot is an 8x10 photograph of your face. Because all actors need them, there are a lot of photographers out here who take advantage of, once again, like the agents, those people who've just gotten to town. They'll charge you just horrific amounts of money for terrible pictures, and if you take the pictures back, they, well, I don't know what you're talking about. You got your pictures, goodbye.
Look for a professional workshop, either after college or after high school. It's not a professional workshop because I did a soap opera for a year and now I'm teaching classes. But maybe I did a soap opera for a year after I was trained for 25 years. It just so happened I did a soap opera for a year. There's a difference. There should be an audition, not someone who's going to say, sign on the dotted line, I'll make you a star. In that way, it should be a place that looks like it's doing all right, that doesn't look like it's saying, I'm hungry, oh, are you a few bucks that's going to pay me? I'm just trying to keep my classes going, and you're someone else I can exploit. Because there's exploitation around every corner. Somewhere that's willing to accept you just because you've got the money to pay for it. Somewhere to run from as fast as you can.
Anyone that says you pay me money and I'll get you a part. Anyone that says I can make you a star. Anyone that says give me money, I'll get you an agent. There is an underground society out here that preys on young, vulnerable people. That's absolutely true. Don't come out and fall for anyone's wild promises about stardom.
I have found that people really do not learn with an authority figure that berates a student. Sometimes people get mixed up and they go, ooh, he's beating me up, I'm suffering, I must be learning. You're not learning. You're just doing what this authority figure is making you do, that's all. And as soon as you leave, you'll drop it, because it's not going to work for you and it's not going to stick.
Be true to yourself. When you start doing things that aren't true to you, you won't be happy whether you make it or not. When you start steering clear of that, you might as well click your heels 3 times, because you'll be back in Kansas in no time.
And you too could make it here in Hollywood, this sun-dappled Hades. No, that sounds like I'm so bitter.
It's going to take a lot of work to survive. I mean, it's going to take a lot of jobs to pay your bills. And then there are going to be more bills, because to stay in the business, you have to do your headshots, you have to take classes. I don't think there's anybody out there who can come like from where I come from and do the movie, because it's not like anybody can do it. There's a certain technique you have to learn, and that costs money. That's the classes.
If you're just getting started, plan 2 or 3 years. I mean, you wouldn't expect to be a tennis pro, and yet people believe these stories they read about somebody getting picked off the street and suddenly working. It just doesn't happen. It does not happen. Schwab's is gone. No one is picked off the street and thrown into a film. You'll read stories about that because it's good press. research the business and research the craft before you come. Then the moment you get here, you can start learning and doing things effectively. Immediately be enrolled in a training institute of quality. Ideally, it's recognized by the Department of Education or some accrediting commission, or at least that there's a Screen Actors Guild recommendation. First thing that you do is you check it out in a professional arena. Immediately have an agent or a casting director for contact. Immediately have a place to live lined up. Immediately know the language that people use here so that you will fit in and bring whatever wonderful history you have, a unique quality you have from your own town with some savvy into this town. And let's think like a craft instead of an art. This is like making horseshoes or tiling a floor. You have to do it when there's a job. You have to do it when someone else needs you to do it. You have to do it under pressure. You have to do it well every time, but you have to do it well enough that a beautiful bricked pathway almost resembles art. It's almost art, master craftsmanship. Think of it as a master craft that you're preparing for, not an art. You should expect after 2 or 3 years of study, another 2 or 3 years of, let's call it journeymanship, doing student films, low-budget independent films, the local community theater, equity waiver theater, or it's called 99-seat plan theater out here, off-Broadway, getting known, getting your feet wet, getting so you know your craft. You're still having to work a job, but you're not having to pay for classes anymore. You're getting practical experience, doing showcases, etc. Anywhere along that line, you may get a remarkable break. You may have a look or a type that will work for a moment in a television show. Don't make the mistake of saying, oh, well, I got 5 lines on Roseanne this week, so I don't need to train, so I don't need to do any more theater. Oh, I don't do student films. I got 5 lines on Roseanne. Don't make that mistake. Hold yourself as a student or as a studier, and then a journeyman, and then a professional, just as you would if you were studying making horseshoes. When you're looking for that professional workshop, it should be something you can add to your resume. Jeff Corey, Estelle Harmon, Nina Foch, Tracy Roberts, Howard Fine. These are some of the names that people would say, yes, I know that means something even if you're brand new. It means to me you're ready for journeyman work. It means to me you're ready to work professionally.
Well, he should be able to speak well, should be able to sing, should be able to dance, should know stage combat, should know how to move, he should have good memorization skills. He should also be, or she should also be knowledgeable about the craft of acting, how to read a part and break down a character and approach a role and make it your own. Also should know co-reading technique, because when you go in now for a movie or a television show or a play, they hand you a script or a couple of pages we call sides, and you have to immediately suggest the character. So you have to know how to shift the gears into the tempo rhythm of the scene and the character. You need to know a lot to survive. For every role out here, there's about 50, 60 people that they call in. And they have callbacks, and they might end up with 10 people. This is not an accident. This is a profession.
You need to have the skill and the training. You need to be taught different methods of acting. And you need to be a quick read. And that's we're finding more and more casting directors now are wanting people to read fast and interpret fast right on the spot.
You're expected to be able to do a prepared reading or a cold reading. And the difference is, even though the Screen Actors Guild says there should be 24 hours, the script should be made available 24 hours in advance, when possible is very rare. So you may be handed a script 20 or 30 minutes before you're actually going to go in and do the reading for the casting director. So the ability to memorize lines quickly, quick study, make quick and effective choices. Every professional actor knows that there are a dozen or so questions they can ask of a script that will produce an exciting performance. An amateur says, how am I going to say the words? How should I say the words so they like me? A professional says, what's going on here? What's the relationship? What just happened? What do I want from this person? And knows that the answers to those questions is going to present a very exciting and interesting and unique performance. The first sign of an amateur is that they'll say, how did you want me to say it? Or what were you looking for? Every actor, every professional knows that you show up on time. I don't want to sound petty, but you show up 5 minutes late and I don't want you in my film, because that means you're going to show up. That's how you treat my time. To hell with everybody else except your own personal time. Well, people in this industry value time because time is enormously expensive in the entertainment industry. So professionals show up early. They don't show up late. I'll tell you a funny story. A manager friend of mine was on his way to pick up a client to take her to a reading. He got into a car accident in a rainstorm on the freeway. His car flipped over. He crawled out of his vehicle, dragging his car phone, and before he dialed 911, he dialed his client to say he'd be late. That's what we mean by professionalism, maybe to the extreme, but that's how people think in this industry. What do you mean you were late? Well, my cat died. Are you kidding? A professional knows the terminology, knows the difference between an agent and a manager. An agent is a legal body. Management is less specific. There are absolutely wonderful, necessary, and legitimate personal managers. And then there's Uncle Bob, who says, I'll manage your kid. If you don't know some fundamental things, like the difference between an agent, a manager, a producer, a director, a writer, you don't know the names of the guilds, you're bringing too much naivete. A professional actor knows, across the board, the difference between a first reading and a callback. That first reading is just, I got 100 pictures, 1,000 pictures. The casting director went flat, 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 round file, keep, round file, keep, round file being the garbage, round file, keep, round file, keep. Kept maybe 100. Of those, I'm going to pick 50 that we're going to see. Okay, immediately 45 will be eliminated because they won't look like their picture. Professional has a picture that looks like them. 5, I'm finally going to get in person what I see, and then 3 of them are going to have the qualities the director told me he was looking for. That's all that first screening was about. Your reading could have been dreadful. It's just a typing. Now you get a callback. Now a professional can do a better job. A professional knows that you don't show up for the callback. If you had a beard at the reading, you don't shave before the callback. If you were very violent and dangerous at the initial reading, you don't do something calm and placid at the callback. So a professional knows the difference between a reading and a callback, but also knows how to improve but maintain the reading. There is a third callback, or a producer's reading. Sometimes I'll hear an actor say, yeah, I got a callback. That's because they went in, they met with somebody, and then they were called back to read. That's not a callback. That's still a first reading. A callback means I've seen you work, and I'm still interested. I want to see more. I want to show you to the director. A professional knows that the casting director doesn't hire you. People think of casting directors as employers, and they're not. They're screeners. They're lie detector tests. That's all. They're somewhere. The director, the producers are hiring you. The director is the next rung from the producer, and the casting director is screening out all the people who are wrong and trying to bring the few people who are right into the director. Fundamentally, the thing that separates the amateur from the professional, what every professional knows, is that the task at an audition, they know what the task is. At a reading, the task is to establish a rapport with the casting director and demonstrate that I'm the right type from the moment I walk in the door. The task at the callback is to show that I can meet the acting requirements, to bring something a little more interesting and a little more exciting, and to take direction, show the director that I can respond to his work. And my task the first day I show up on the set is to know all my lines, have a fully prepared character, have the interpersonal skills to interact with the variety of personalities that I'm going to meet. But my task at the first reading isn't to get the job, to win. It's to establish comfortable rapport with the casting director and demonstrate my type. You're selling a Rolls Royce. You're not for every market. The amateur goes to every reading to win and loses the part if they don't get cast. I have a newsflash, you never had the part to begin with. You don't have a part until you've signed a contract and they've given you money. So you can't lose something you didn't have. And that probably fundamentally separates the attitude the professional has more than anything else. I got a reading. If I can liken it to some other experience for people, it's a date, not a wedding. Some people go on every date looking for a husband or a wife, and that's a tragic mistake. Date. Have a good time. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the person. And if you enjoyed yourself, then you had a successful meeting. That's the sum total of what the professional is looking to do. The next step is, am I right for the part? Is my acting strong, etc. They get caught up in the scene rather than the business and rather than the professional side of the industry. They get into the crowd, they go to the right clubs, they wear the right clothes, and they hang out with the right people, which does nothing for them except really discredit them and get them a reputation as a wannabe, rather than someone who's really, the first way you want to be known is as a really great actor. Wow, where did you come from? You're a really great actor. You're not that guy that's been hanging around everybody at the clubs trying to worm his way in. You're not that person we all buy our drugs from. You're not that. That is another terrible mistake people make once they get here. Getting into the scene rather than the business.
An agent's job in Hollywood is to secure employment for new actors and established actors. Most agents are licensed by the State Labor Board of California, so you can call the State Labor Board to see if he's a real agent, and you can call SAG and AFTRA to see if he is a franchise agent. And the reason that you'd want to do that is these are people that have been investigated. We have a bond. We put up $10,000 so we don't run off with the money. We secure your employment. We also protect you from flim-flam scams and other things. Both unions have programs for people to come in. AFTRA is a very fine union, and they'll have a payment plan that once you get some work, that you can pay them off to become a member.
2 criteria a professional has to meet. You have to have an agent, and you have to get into the Screen Actors Guild. And it can seem like a catch-22 because you've got to have a SAG card to get SAG work. To get SAG work, you got to have a SAG card, you got to have an agent wants you to be SAG. It seems like everybody wants you to do something else. 3 ways, fundamentally, an agent is going to find and sign new talent, which is the category I assume you're going to fall into. You're going to be seen in a showcase, a professional showcase that agents and casting people are attending, and they'll be stimulated by the work that you do or the type that you are. Second way, you have impressed a casting director enough at a lucky reading that you got, or that the casting director saw you in a showcase or a local play, or maybe even knows a friend of a friend. But you've read for that casting director and they're impressed enough that they'll make a direct referral to an agency. Because let's talk about it, on the rung, right, we've got the agent and then casting and then the directors and then the producer, so the higher ranking, the better the recommendation. The other way you get an agent is maybe you know somebody who's already signed by that agency, who's going to bring you in, who's doing well, who's making a lot of money for that agency, who's going to bring you in and say, this is my buddy, I think you should give him a look. Mostly the new person gets a small job, a commercial or a few lines on a show, or the new person does a theater piece that gets excellent reviews, that becomes the happening thing in town, that people start going to, the word gets out. Oh, you only need one person to see you to open the doors to other people. So that's how you begin to get an agent.
An agent will never charge you any money. Our employment, the way we gain money, is based on your employment. We receive money after the job has been done. When you receive your paycheck, it usually comes to us and we reissue it.
I want to make a very specific recommendation. Backstage West is a newspaper that's been in New York for 36 years as Backstage, and it's now Backstage West out here in Los Angeles. They did an entire article on how you join the unions. Call Backstage West. Ask them if they'll send you a copy of the article about how you join the unions, and you'll get pages and pages of advice on how to do that. You've got the Screen Actors Guild, the American Federation of Radio and Television Artists, AFTRA, and the little-known union, the one most people don't think about and so many people would fall into, the American Guild of Variety Artists, AGVA. If you're a puppeteer, if you do car shows, if you do a little stand-up comedy, maybe you entertain at the local bar, join the American Guild of Variety Artists and bring a contract to your employer. It's the minimum pay is probably less than you're already earning. And once you have worked up your AGVA card, you have to have made a certain amount of money or worked a certain number of jobs. You now are SAG eligible. You can join the union when you want to and when you have the funds together to do it. A lot of people don't think of that. They'll say, well, I sing, but how will that help me join SAG? Join AGVA. That's a smart thing to know. I don't know how long that will remain open. Right now, that's still one of those loopholes that's open. That's a good way in.
They need to understand that they need to be flexible when they get their agent. And what I mean by flexible is that they need time to spend when we send you out on the interviews to go to those interviews. Because there is no such thing as coming early or going late. When a casting person allows us to have an appointment, It's a very lucky situation, first off. They're giving us the gift, and that's what people coming out here need to understand. It's so much competition. They got to become more prepared than the people that are already here. They have to be willing to be flexible. You're going to be asked things that you should just feel like, oh God, what are they doing to me? But that's just the way it is, because you have to understand, from around the world they come here. We have 80,000 actors in LA alone. So if you're going to come to play, you got to be ready to be hopping. You're like that waiter in a very hungry restaurant. You got to move as fast as you can.
All they're looking for, you could be the nicest person in the world, you could be the greatest person, the best actor. What an agent really wants to know is, how can you make them money? That's what they're here for. That's the business. They're here to make money. And if you are like a product, how can we make money off of you?
All of the terrible things that have been said here about Hollywood and the movie industry are true of every other city and every other business. Hollywood is just like the rest of the world, only more so.